Hi all, I am ARDRA PRAVEEN, second year MSc Microbiology student at Central University of Tamil Nadu. And for this course of Marine and Environmental Microbiology by instructor Dr. Kavya Bakka, the topic that I'll be taking is general wastewater characteristics. So, introduction. The term wastewater refers to any body of water whose quality has been diminished as a result of human activity. And in everyday usage, wastewater is commonly a synonym for sewage. And wastewater is made up of both liquid and solid waste, which is discharged from residential and commercial properties, industrial operations, and agricultural facilities or lands. And this wastewater can be classified as hazardous or non-hazardous depending on the variety of the contaminants present in it. So we can broadly classify the characteristics of wastewater into three: physical characteristics, chemical characteristics, and biological characteristics. First off, we look into the physical characteristics of wastewater, which is color. So fresh domestic sewage has a grey color, but as time progresses due to the process of putrefaction, it becomes much more darker. But septic sewage as it comes in has a much more darker color, and industrial wastewater color is depending upon the type of industry that it is being released from. So the combination of industrial wastewater and domestic sewage has the potential to introduce pigmentation to this domestic sewage. Then we have odor and temperature. Odor, which is smell. So fresh sewage possesses a musty smell, but as it ages and becomes stagnant, it gives off an offensive smell. And that is mainly due to the available oxygen in the wastewater being depleted and these anaerobic microorganisms acting on it and releasing hydrogen sulfide gas and other sulfur components. And if we look at the temperature of wastewater, it is much more higher. That is mainly due to the addition of warm water from the homes and factories, and the temperature also increases as it circulates in closed circuits and sewage pipes. And because of this temperature, water becomes thicker and more conductive to bacterial growth. So if we look at the typical temperature of Indian wastewater, it is nearly up to 20 degrees Celsius. Then we have the turbidity and total solids. So the turbidity of wastewater is dependent upon the quantity of suspended solid particles within the system. That is, the turbidity is directly proportional to the solids present in it, and the turbidity increases proportionally with the strength or the concentration. And it can be measured using this turbidity rod or Jackson's turbidimeter. Then the total solids, so if we take a typical sample of the sewage, it will have 99.9% of water and only 0.1% of the solid. So this total solid content of wastewater can be defined analytically as all the stuff or the residue which is left behind after all the water in it has evaporated at the temperatures between 103 and 105 degrees Celsius. And there are three distinct manifestations of these total solids, and it is the suspended solids, which includes colloidal solids and settlable solids, and dissolved solids. So that was the physical characteristics of wastewater. Now we look into the chemical characteristics of wastewater. First one, which is pH. So raw sewage has a pH between 7.3 and 7.5, making it somewhat alkaline. And but with time, as bacteria produces acid, it becomes much more acidic. But even after some times, due to the stable oxidation, then it will revert back to its original alkaline state of 7.3. If the wastewater has high levels of acid or alkalis, it means that it is coming from a industry or it is of chemical waste. Then chloride content, that is normal water, even normal water has chloride content, but these wastewater, the chloride mainly comes from including human feces, culinary waste, and urine discharges, etc. Then content. So nitrogen in the sewage is a clear sign of decaying organic materials, and this nitrogen can be found in various forms. So this ammonia nitrogen or the free ammonia, which is found in the initial phase of organic matter decomposition, and this albuminoid nitrogen, which is the amount of nitrogen that is already present in water before the process of breaking down organic matter may have happening. And the nitrites nitrogen, which is an indicator of the organic debris that has partially been degraded, not completely but partially. But if it is completely or entirely oxidized, the form of nitrogen found is nitrates nitrogen. Then we have fats, greases, and oils, mainly from kitchen, like butter, vegetable oils, fats, as well as from commercial establishments, workshops, and factories too. Then we have surfactants, which is synthetic detergents, mainly from indoor plumbing, appliances and electronics. One such example, which is surfactant alkyl benzene sulfonate. They has this ability to produce foams during the wastewater treatment and can be quite detrimental during the treatment processes. Then the phenols, pesticides and agricultural chemicals. So phenols mainly comes from factories, and the surface runoff from farms, forests and parklands is a major contributor of pesticides, herbicides and other chemicals in a combined sewerage system. Then toxic compounds, that is very heavy metals like copper, lead, silver, chromium, arsenic and boron, mainly comes from industrial process. We also it might include the cyanides and chromates too. Then sulfates, sulfides and H2S gas. So sulfates and sulfides are generated as a result of the decomposition process of diverse sulfur containing substances found within the wastewater. So sulfate ions are naturally present in the water, but the sulfur is liberated during the process of degradation. As we have seen, the hydrogen sulfide gas, which is produced during the degradation, gives off the very offensive odor. And in addition to this H2S gas, it can undergo biological oxidation to produce a sulfuric acid, which results in the corrosion of the sewer pipes. Then other gases, which is again nitrogen gas, oxygen gas, carbon dioxide, found in water commonly, together with this hydrogen sulfide gas, ammonia and methane, which is mainly by the anaerobic decomposition of organic matter. So the production of this methane gas, which is highly combustible and explosive, the problem with the methane is that it is very much important that there is ventilation in manholes and sewer junctions, because the methane gas is much combustible. Like it has the potential to cause an explosion if there is not proper ventilation. Then we have the organic matter, that is the domestic sewage usually contains a lot of organic matter, proteins, carbohydrates, everything, food particles, waste, etc. So it can be calculated using this chemical oxygen demand and biochemical oxygen demand. Chemical oxygen demand, it is the oxygen equivalent of organic matter that can be oxidized by a strong chemical oxidizing agent, mainly potassium dichromate, and the principal reaction, and it can be calculated using that equation. Then biochemical oxygen demand, it is a widely used parameter of organic pollution applied in both wastewater and surface water, and this involves the measurement of dissolved oxygen used by microorganisms in the biochemical oxidation of organic matter. And it can be calculated, there is a specific way, 5-day BOD or 3-day BODs can be taken. That is a known volume of the sample of the wastewater is diluted with a known volume of the aerated pure water, and the dissolved oxygen is calculated. And then it is incubated for 5 days at 20 degrees Celsius. Again, we are calculating the dissolved oxygen. So the difference between the initial DO value and the final DO value will indicate the oxygen consumed by the sewage sample, or we can calculate, it helps us in calculating the amount of organic matter present in it. So that was the chemical characteristics of wastewater. Now we move on to the final one, which is the biological characteristics of wastewater, which refers to the living organisms present in the wastewater, such as bacteria, viruses and parasites. So some of these microorganisms are beneficial while others are highly pathogenic. And pathogenic bacteria include E. coli, Salmonella species, Shigella species, Vibrio cholera, and viruses like enterovirus, protozoans like Endemiba histolytica, helminthes are all quite pathogenic, and common diseases associated with the pathogens in sewage include cholera, typhoid, dysentery and hepatitis. We also have beneficial microorganisms which plays a crucial role in breaking down the organic matter, like aerobic bacteria and anaerobic bacteria. Another class of organisms, that is indicator organisms. So sometimes instead of testing directly for the pathogen, the treatment plants might look for these indicator organisms like E. coli, and as they are found commonly in the human waste, if they are present in the water, then that means that it is coming from or it is contaminated. That is, if large numbers of E. coli are found in sewage, it suggests that the water has been contaminated with fecal matter and may contain other harmful pathogens too. Then we also have fungi present in it, algae, protozoa, and even viruses. And these viruses can live as long as 41 days in water and wastewater, and they might be responsible for a lot of diseases too. So what is this importance of understanding wastewater characteristic? Why do we need to learn the characteristics of wastewater? Mainly, the primary importance is that it is for designing efficient treatment system. Only by knowing the turbidity, temperature, BOD, COD, or the microbial load, can the engineers design appropriate treatment processes. For example, if the wastewater contains high organic content, it requires a robust biological treatment, while industrial effluents may need just chemical neutralization. And then it is also important for preventing environmental pollution. That is, we have seen how it has high loads of nitrogen and sulfides in it. So to to prevent contaminating the ecosystems and to not harm the aquatic life, we need to understand the wastewater characteristics. So, and it also prevents the eutrophication and algal blooms too. Then for protecting public health, the pathogenic microorganisms and toxic chemicals, heavy metals, identifying them will only allow us to target disinfection and safer disposal. Then for regulatory compliances, that is, governments have set standards, and to make sure that those standards are being met before this wastewater has been released into the environment. Then for resource recovery and reuse, only by understanding the composition of the wastewater can we be able to reuse it for other purposes. Then for monitoring industrial impact, to pinpoint exactly from where the pollutant or the industrial waste has been coming from, to track the pollution sources. So that was it about the topic of general wastewater characteristics. I hope it was clear. These are the references, and thank you.